Good morning, everyone. Oh, I feel like I should whisper.
No, we're in secret garden.
We're in a secret garden. We're in a secret garden. I'm Julie. This is Meg, my friend. And we found a little spot. We're in the northern suburbs of Perth.
Yeah.
And we found the secret garden, and it's actually on Google Maps. And it's an incredible little spot. And I wanted to speak to Meg today and have her as my little guest, or just sharing her knowledge. I'd always love talking to Meg, and we've got my gnomes here.
And I just got given one called.
I was carrying all my gnomes across this. I mean, I'll do a little video as I walk out. It's the most incredible place. It's got these vines just growing over everything. And I did make a gnome last night, and as I finished it, I knew it was for Megan. And as I carried them over, I've got about 4 or 5 here, Meg fell out of my arms and dropped on her toes at her feet. So that was quite special. And yeah, so we're at the secret garden in Gwelup, and I wanted to just speak to my friend Megan about my gnomes, really, or just about what they're showing me, because Christmas time last year in 2019 I decided, or it just came about, I can't remember the detail, but I was drawn to these gnomes and I did them for Christmas in the Christmas colours, and everyone just really loved them. They seemed to get a really nice response. People would smile and laugh, and they kind of got what I was getting out of them, and I didn't really know what it was, but I knew it made me feel good, and I knew that the crochet was part of the weaving, and I realized after the fact, which is quite often how things happen, you end up doing something that lights you up, possibly, which these did. And I saw the message, and it was about the weaving of the crochet, which I do Hawaiian bodywork, and that is called lomi lomi in Hawaiian language. Lomi lomi means weaving. It means weaving the light into the dark. And you were the one that actually helped me with a flyer years and years ago. Meg and I have known each other for probably about 10 years. And you helped me, but might not remember this, but you helped me with a flyer, and we were talking about the word weaving. So all these little magic things. So Megan has a way of talking with people, or with me. When I've experienced chats with Megan, she speaks, her business is called Living Spirited.
I have a blog called Enlightened Artisan and a YouTube Enlightened Artisan, but I've changed the names of all this stuff.
But she speaks what I feel so clearly, and makes it make sense. So Megan has kind of cultivated her connection that she's probably had at birth. Is that right? In the last 10 years?
10 years, yeah. My comprehension of Living Spirited, which you're referring to my Facebook, I have a page called Meg and Catherine Living Spirited, and when I wrote Living Spirited as a page, I didn't really understand what it was. But I have been opening up, and yeah, from birth I recognise, as we all do, we come in open, connected, as we pass through whatever it is that as soul or as spirit we arrive
here in this physical
and we are
body.
A part of that connection, and we carry all that we are and all that we have been. We are the living library. This is the beauty of a human. It's also our curse, to be the living library and go, well, what pages are relevant to me? What's the rest of all this? And and we have a lot of trauma and carry a lot of pain, and we're lifting up out of that. Everyone can feel it, even if they don't recognize it or talk like we talk, or there's this sort of rising, but then there's this falling as well. And the coronavirus is really bringing the rise and fall at the moment. That moment where you panic a little about it all, and then you kind of go, oh no, it's okay, come back down into a nice even space.
Yeah.
And within that, our spirit is rising, because as things are coming forward now, the new energies, the new earth that has really opened up for the next 9 to 10 years, we're traveling through an experience that we've never had before as humans. And a lot of people, are still slowing away the old stuff, reinstating and embodying, and yet the likes of us have been doing this for the last 10 years, specifically since 1212, are now coming into a new kind of opening and awakening, a new
Searching
awareness. And,
Yeah.
this is where the gnomes are coming in.
Yeah,
This
the
is where
gnomes, and it
stuff's
comes
happening.
differently for people, doesn't it? It might just come from a sunset for people.
The
or-
spirit that's behind everything, feeling it,
Yeah,
knowing it,
exactly.
sensing
Feeling it, and not knowing it in a different way. Because
Yeah.
I was saying to Meg as we were walking in, I realised, preparing for today, that my mental state, that wanting to know from that place of trying desperately to understand, so that you can relate it possibly, isn't important. And it's been my diversion to know things and to feel that you need to know things. It's been my diversion from the real, from God. I've comfortably start calling the source God now, and how I've gone into that in the last couple of years through God being the gift of despair, or the gift of desperation.
Oh, okay.
Because I think the pain is where I've discovered this. Because even when I was a little girl, I remember, hearing arguments and things that happened in my family, and I was desperate. I was in a desperate yearning to, for the arguments to stop, or whatever I was feeling. And I think, when we, like Meg said, when we enter in from the pure realm of, before the humanness of us, and then we come into these families, we've chosen our way to learn where we came from, and where we go again, and how that just is it. That I had the gift of despair. Then I can remember, discovering God in myself, really, and pleading for them to stop, because they were humans that, older than me. They were mum and dad, and I wanted them to stop arguing. And that was my and we were down the road from a little Salvation Army church, and I used to hear the people singing. I was only about 7. So there's always a way, what I'm saying, that we hear.
So that's what's opened up for me, because in my sort of spiritual seeking, and then coming into that more and more, and living it, part of what I've discovered is that as a child I shut it down. I was very open, to the point where a lot of darkness came in, scared me, and that's what the focus has been, and that's what has shut down.
That fear.
That fear took
Yeah,
over.
fear of,
And now I'm kind of, the word I want to say is disemboweling, because it's literally at the gut level that I feel like I'm taking the fear away, and filling it up with this new energy that's available now.
Yeah.
And I look back across life and think everything's happening in purpose. Everything is the way it's supposed to be. My life is one big symbol of things happening, to the point where I wore my, you can see my little rainbow crayons. Because I've always had that artisan in me, and I used to be a trade. My trade is interior design.
Interior designer.
Yeah, now I'm interior designing.
And interior designing.
Yeah,
exactly.
And these new energies that are coming through are picking up, they have a whole, what used to be just certain colour streams of light are now harmonics in themselves, and they have this entire different thing. But I still call them certain colours. To me, I see them in colours. I see peace as a certain colouring, but in it is all this other geometry and mathematic and words and light and essence. I don't know. It just, and that's all available, and it comes back to breath. I think the lomi to breathe it in and let it weave its way through us.
That's right. Breath is that connection to the realm of spirit. I was just thinking as you were talking, that everybody has their way of connecting. You were saying through creativity, through colour, and when you understand self, when you understand and you can let go of that fear that we may have stepped into as children, when we've suddenly realised we were disconnected and we were on our own and we were in this world of pain with our adults around us who, you know, weren't awakened beings. And so mine was, when I look back, you know, when I'm starting to sort of see myself as a evolving being, I always loved to touch. And my brother was 10 years older than me, and he had girlfriends, and he used to, and we, you know, we lived a lot on up at Yanchep, and we'd be there, so they'd be in their bathers, and I'd want to massage the backs,
Right.
and brush their hair, only because I knew that would I could connect through love.
Yeah.
I could connect through love to them, and I think as a little girl that was my way of touching people, and that's what I do. 20 years I've been a body worker, so it's interesting to see your strengths or your ways of connecting.
And I think that's what I recognise as the living spirited. I've never not lived spirited. It's just my brain now, and my body-brain consciousness has disengaged me, and doesn't mean it's not there, you know.
That's right.
So I'm always guided in some way. Life is coming to you and showing up in some way. The things that you are drawn to, that you participate in, it's all part and parcel of you growing. And
and if it doesn't
you know.
feel right, because you can tweak it, because you know, even recently, you know, there's something that I became involved in. I thought, this is bringing up dis-ease in me, and then to discern whether I need to do it or I don't need to do it, and I can trust that now, that discernment.
So instead of the gift of despair, can you focus on the gift of discernment?
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Discernment means what is for me and what isn't for me. What's my relevance in this? Sometimes, you know, we've been so conditioned, you have to say things, do things, action it certain ways, and yet your relevance may just be to be there, you know. Your relevance may be to do that touch. Your relevance may be to give that smile. And the more we discern within ourselves and our own sort of energetic, auric basis of, you know, where's the holes, where's the problems, where's the whatever on me as an energy field, I'm now clearing that and making space for that energy that's always out there to come into me and flow through me and create as me, you know.
And watch that happen. Just watching that happen.
And this is where I see the gnomes. I see
my gnomes.
a whole new earth experience happening with many forms stepping up and offering assistance. And this is where we're connecting.
To
this
connect.
Is the new connection. Many that we played with as children and we weren't even aware we did. You know, that our spirited child played, you know, and quite often even in sleep you're doing this, you know. When the body or the brain, the consciousness that has developed is not in the way, you know.
Yeah, it's funny, you know, memories of childhood are just coming through, and I shared this with a little 5-year-old the other day who I look after, and I was remembering, because her 5th birthday's coming up, and you know, just small things, just little new ways of understanding the signs that life brings. And I said, I remember my 5th birthday. And I remembered my 5th birthday. I got a bride doll, and there's a black and white photo of me with a bride doll. And I realised that kids don't have bride dolls anymore, do they? You don't see bride. It's kind of a 50s thing, you know. So I had this bride doll, and I had this photograph of me I was in a cowgirl outfit. Interesting, a cowgirl outfit. So you know, that was quite good. Owning that masculine but being feminine, and the bride doll. So Mum had made the outfit, and I think she'd made the dress for the doll. But when I look at it now, I think, you know, coming into that time was when I was praying to God to please, you know, stop the alcohol, and you know, there was a lot of alcohol, and there was fighting and whatnot. And I loved the idea of being married, you know, not being married, but I loved the message of this bride doll. See, there's something about play and about toys. That's coming through. So I realised that maybe I was marrying myself to the realm of the spirit then.
Time is not it's a spiral, you know what I mean? And we actually have the ability to be all over time. And this is what I wore today. this is volcanic rock, and I made it like a watch. I don't wear watches anymore. I can't, the batteries die within instants because of my energy now.
Oh.
So every so often I wear this, and this reminds me of the true earth and time. You know, what is
Oh, yes,
time
and
in
it
its
looks-
relevance, you know.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I feel
yeah.
that, you know, perhaps on some level you married yourself, but, you know, it's that thing of, we say, oh, we got married, we have to go live with that person. But it's that spirit part of you that said, I vow and owe,
Exactly.
you know, and I will be with you through sickness and health, you know, health. I will be with you through all that is coming. And that part of the girl that maybe had to step out for, you know, the empathic nature of us was getting too much with what was happening. She's coming back. She's the play girl, you know, she's the one.
coming
And you're
back.
coming back into that spiral of
55
meeting
years
her.
later.
Yeah, as we rise, we meet them again, you know. It's this sense of self.
Yeah, and it's
In
such
the
a precious thing.
timelessness. In the timelessness.
Yeah, and to watch yourself how, where you were drawn. Like I was drawn to a group 10 years ago, and that's where I met Meg. And there was a lot of beautiful connections back then. There were a group on a Monday, and we went and we listened and we shared, and you know, we were facilitated, and it was wonderful.
We explored.
Yeah, explore
Amazing
these
things that we were.
and then we kind of, you know, this last 10 years, I think a few of us, and no doubt it's happened in the grids. Like you speak about the grids, Meg, you know, and that's why I wanted to bring Megan here too, to the secret garden. I mean, you can only see this little humpy that we're sitting in, but it's an incredible space. The shapes with this creeper growing over everything, and there's water, and there's little kids running around. So and you know, the gnomes being part of the elemental kingdom, I thought I'll bring them here, and take some photos, and you know, just experience this place together. And everywhere you look, there's like there's a noise behind us. There's something walking. It's not human.
It might not be. Yeah.
It's not human. Maybe it's a troll. Probably is.
This is it. Here's the perspective. Earth and perspective, trolls, dreadful. And yet now I'm more open to, what's this troll offering to us? And when we're in a level of vibration, the despair, the energy of darkness doesn't have the same, you know, and you can't create this world without shadow and dark.
Yeah, that's right.
It's giving it a different meaning.
Yes.
It's giving it
and
a
it's
different
funny, isn't
knowing,
it? Because just thinking about what you're saying, this is what happens when I listen to you, Meg. You know, I have a cup of coffee and we go into these big realms, and my mind just goes, it's like a magic carpet ride, honestly. And I just find it, and then I go home and I do the dishes and, you know, drive the car and, you know, get the petrol. And, and it's like, oh, I want more of that. But in meditation, you know, this is the other thing that's coming up for me too, to really commit to meditation time every day. But that denseness of the physical that we come into, and whether it's a great story or whatever story or family of origin that you experience. My husband's Norwegian, and he often speaks about, oh, that's right, that's what I was thinking. People, you know, as children, they love to kind of, you know, fairy tales. It's always the scary little bit, and then the, you know, the light and the dark, isn't it? And people like to kind of, they tend to bond more through the dark, through the fear of the dark, in the chats that, you know, oh, watch out for the boogeyman, and you know, it's fun scaring children. You know, there's an aspect of, I know my grandfather and my dad, they loved scaring me, and you know, but that. And so that was what I wore as a cloak, sort of as a child, like a little bit scaredy cat, you know. And I was a scaredy cat, and all these things.
Oh, I get it. You know, and then you have children, and you're scared for your children, and you're scared for your husband, and you're scared for your, you know, your friends.
Be careful.
Yeah, and you know, and now here we are with all of that rising as a pandemic has just announced today or something. Apparently, my husband told me.
Officially. Oh, fish.
Yeah, but
Ellie.
you know, it's there. You know, as I'm trying to organise a trip to Italy. It's not looking great. It was, you know, paid money.
Oh, yeah.
And my husband today said to me, look, Meg, if you lose money, how does it affect us? And I went, just feels like bugger. Like, you know, in the big scheme, it doesn't affect our mortgage. It doesn't affect us feeding ourselves. It doesn't affect anything.
Right. Yeah.
And so all I can do at this point is go with the punches and see what happens.
Yeah, just
wait and see. But the worst case scenario, you know, the whole what could
we've
possibly
got to be
happen.
careful. Yeah.
it's not a big deal.
No.
You know what I mean?
What will be will be.
Yeah, and I
That's
make
right.
choices along that way, whether we
Yes.
go
Educated
later
choices.
or not. It's
Yeah.
it's in the now I make the choice. In the now I make the choice,
Yeah.
not based on my old perceptions, my old experiences, be those in human or any other form that I am. It's about what is now, and the more I feel into that embodied strength that is coming through as new earth, new being, it is showing up differently, and I don't have to look at the old show. You know, that old show kind of wants to put it's very loud.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely. It wants to take your attention all the time.
That
no.
stillness, that breath,
Yeah,
that
that
knowingness, and that energy that you can feel it. Sometimes it's a bit disconcerting for me, who's very empathic. I'm very sensory, so I know when things are moving, shifting. I can feel it all the time. And you know, so people fighting, people, you know, my energy would go out there and want to smooth everybody, but in so doing, depleting
yourself.
depleting. Yeah,
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah. It's taking control, maybe.
Yeah,
or,
and and now it's kind of like, okay, what can I do in this moment?
In yourself.
In the God,
and
in the
what?
discernment.
When
What's
you
the gift?
Clear
Peace.
yourself, and you clear, you boost your immune system no end. So the best way you can stay healthy, you know, is of course wash hands and whatnot, but to stay clear and meditate and
not get into the worry.
Yeah.
Do what you can in the actions that are required, but a lot of it is
And
catastrophizing. A lot of it is freaking out. I mean, I got freaked out, and here we weren't going to have this story, but you know, about toilet paper. How dare they use all the toilet paper? You know, that stuff. But then I
had clients coming, you know, to be massagers going, and I went, it'll be all right.
And
I thought, there's no way I'm getting on the toilet paper thing.
Yeah, but what it brought up in me was, how do you problem solve that? Is it really such a big deal? And, you know, and different thoughts and different patterns around the inconvenience, you know, to learn to be flexible and flex with what's coming and going, with how you're operating in this moment, how a group of people are operating, what's held in this building, what's held in this space, how or what's coming forward. Yeah,
just expand out a bit, isn't it?
It is expansion.
Yeah, not stay in that small kind of... But look, I just wanted to...
we've got
to wind us up. We're just practicing. This was great. I wanted to.
There was others too.
Yeah, there's others. Introduce them. Yeah, look, I haven't got names. But I just can't stop knitting them. Yeah, so they're my gnomes.
Carry some amazing energy.
Yeah, they're just really showing me what we've just been speaking of.
There's more to us, the connections,
and they're meditation for me.
Working with that in your life.
You know, they get me out of my head, and they let me have my colour in my world, and
breathe it all in,
and connect with other people, because people love them. And then, so yeah, I'm selling them up at the Yanchep markets, but and I anoint them with my essential oils, which is patchouli.
What have you got on here?
Can you smell patchouli? And
I can't smell a lot because I've got forgive on today.
Oh, have you?
All over me.
Well, patchouli is an oil of physicality, because the gnomes are the guardians of the earth, and they're the guardians of our physical body, which is another thing, because love trees. I've always loved trees. Is where I used to escape as a little girl. I had a big lilac tree up the backyard, so that was my old friend and my connection to God. Lost my train of thought. We've been talking too long, and I'm sitting in the sun.
It's that wind it up.
Yeah, wind it up.
Everything that we needed to chat about and share and feel and allow others to feel.
Lots of love. Stay in the stillness. Don't get into panic about anything. And let's have a chat. See you later. Bye.